let me show you something that I was really kind of excited about when I first heard. I thought, yeah. And I'll tell you how it ends in a second. But first, here is Cut 8. Governor Greg Abbott from the great state of Texas.
To help local officials whose communities are being overwhelmed by hordes of illegal immigrants who are being dropped off by the Biden administration, Texas is providing charter buses to send these illegal immigrants who have been dropped off by the Biden administration to Washington, D.C.
Wow.
We are sending them to the United States Capitol, where the Biden administration will be able to more immediately address the needs of the people that they are allowing to come across our border.
Oh, it's done with such compassion, it was almost a little Ron DeSantis, wasn't it? And when I say a little, I mean maybe like his pinky. On his foot. And I think you can walk without a pinky. I think you could lose the pinky on your hands and your feet, and you're fine. So when I say a little Ron DeSantis, I mean the appendages that you could lose and still not notice. That's how much of Ron DeSantis he was.
Okay. Why is that?
Because what he said, now listen very carefully to what the governor said, because it was revealed later, but he knows, because listen to what he's saying. Play it again.
To help local officials whose communities are being overwhelmed by hordes of illegal immigrants who are being dropped off by the Biden administration.
Yeah.
Texas is providing charter buses to send these illegal immigrants who have been dropped off by the Biden administration.
Okay. So that sounds, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? That sounds great, doesn't it? The key word here is providing. We're providing tour buses. Okay. What are you? We're upset about paying for it? No. These illegal immigrants need to volunteer to get on to the buses Texas is providing to send them to the hellhole of Washington, D.C. Now, even if you don't speak a word of English, you hear Washington, D.C. as they're pointing to a bus. I don't get on that bus.
I don't understand, though. I've been told that illegal immigrants are treated terribly by Texas and wonderfully by Washington, D.C.
Yeah, no, we're just...
Why wouldn't they want to go to Washington, D.C. immediately?
What?
Wouldn't that be their priority?
Because even if you're not in America, you don't want to go to Washington, D.C.
I don't understand. We're told over and over again by the media, the people who treat illegal immigrants fairly are the people in the blue states and the blue communities who are embracing them and giving them all these programs. Why wouldn't they want to go to Washington, D.C.? I don't understand.
So if the United States government can take illegals and just dump them into our border towns, these towns do not have the capability of doing it. I, for one, as a Texan, am sick and tired of what this government, U.S. government, is doing to Texas. They are intentionally doing this to Texas. And the entire country, don't get me wrong.
Because they're hitting every state.
They're hitting every state. So they're doing it to all of our communities. But I really don't understand why we can't take people who the feds just dumped into a city, have no connection to that city. I don't know why we can't pick them up, put them in a bus, and feed them well, treat them well. They can all be singing the Flintstones songs along with John Candy and Steve Martin as they take their train, plane, or automobile some other place, a blue state.
That does seem logical to me, though. I will say the legal aspects of this are always an issue, right? Like,
then don't dance around it. Then the governor shouldn't come out and say, we're providing, and then reveal the details. And, oh, by the way, here are the details.
Right. But is Ron DeSantis doing this by force?
No.
So
it might be. No, I know that. Okay. I know that. But don't be a used car salesman.
You're saying
you didn't read the fine print.
Right. You're saying that the way he's announcing it, obviously, I think the average person would hear that announcement and say, when he finds an illegal immigrant, he's going to put them on a bus and ship them to Washington, D.C., when in reality...
Not when he finds them. Right. They're being dropped off at city. I don't know if you've seen the interviews with the mayors of these border towns.
Oh, they can't believe... And a lot of them are Democrats, by the way.
And they are pulling... The United States government is pulling these buses up and then just dumping them into these towns, okay? There are more illegals in these towns than there are townsfolk. Okay?
Right.
I don't understand why the state can't say, yeah, this is out of control. You're going over here. And we're going to dump you at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Logically, I obviously agree with you on this. But I remember the Arizona case where Arizona not just had an announcement by the governor, but passed a law that was going to enforce immigration law, and it got overturned in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, well.
So I don't, maybe there's just no way
I'm
to
sorry,
do that.
but the Constitution is not a suicide pact.
No, I know.
When the government does not abide by the laws itself, when the government is abusing the rights it was set up to protect. I'm sorry. I'm not leaving America. Joe Biden's America left me. I'm still in America. Right. I still believe in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I believe in equal justice. I believe in the rule of law. Joe Biden's administration and Joe Biden's America and the left, they don't. So I'm still holding Old Glory. I'm still here with my pocket Constitution and Declaration of Independence, and I still abide by all of that. But the government doesn't. When is it going to be enough for states and governors just to say, I'm sorry, but you're not going to collapse my state and me just sit here and take it?
The good news, though, is if Greg Abbott were to lose, I'm sure Beto will handle this more appropriately.
Oh, yeah. That's, I think, the thing that bothers me about Greg Abbott. Because Greg Abbott has just told the federal government what he's going to do. So you could have quietly pulled buses up right next to the buses Homeland Security is renting. All the people are coming out, and you could have a flyer. Beautiful Washington, D.C., It'd have to be full of lies, but you got to come here. The benefits are great and everything is free. It's wonderful. Just get on this bus. And they wouldn't have been warned in advance. Now that Governor Abbott has said this, shockingly in a election year, now Department of Homeland Security is going to say, hey, by the way, they're going to try to get you on buses and go someplace else. Don't do it. Okay. So, all right, you won't do that now. Why didn't he do that? Even if he said, I'm only going to take the volunteers. Why wouldn't you do that without announcing it first?
Well, I mean, I got to believe that a press gathering there's a calculation being made here. He's in the middle of an election year, and he wants people to know about it.
Yeah, I don't really care about words anymore. I don't know about anybody else.
He's saying he's doing something, right? His argument. I mean, like,
when those buses start to take off, you let me know.
I guess we can.
Yeah,
I mean, look, I think you're right to be skeptical, and I don't know what you can do legally in these situations. This is why
I don't either. But you know what?
These states are the victims, and these border towns are the victims of federal policy.
Yeah,
people like Joe Biden are victimizing these communities, and they can and have been doing it for a long time, and states and cities have not been able to fight back successfully against it legally. So, I mean, there's only so much I suppose you can do, but...
well, you know what? I would test the limits. I would have, I have access, if I'm governor, I have access to some really good attorneys.
Yeah.
And I'd say, guys, do you think you know this for absolute sure?
There are definitely people who would give an alternate
and they'd say,
argument.
no, we can make that case. Great. Load them up. Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., they're taking off. If somebody calls, you know what? I'm not around until 2 in the afternoon. By at least that time, they're out of the state of Texas. Well, if they left at 6 a.m., okay, call me at 9 p.m. and they'll be out of the state of Texas. But once you get 100 buses on the highway anywhere, and the left finds out and they're like, we need to stay. And they find some federal judge that says, you can't do that. You got to stop the buses right then. That's your press conference.
And yeah, right. And they certainly have rights. I mean, they have rights, at some level. You'd think. The states. I mean, I think he should get a bunch of buses and have two lines, and one sends them back to the border, back to Mexico, and the other one sends them to D.C. You can choose. You want to stay, you just go there. You want to go back home? We'll get you there too. We're a wonderful state like that. We're very accommodating.
They're just destroying when the law is lifted of Title 42. When that's lifted,
May 23rd, by the way,
it's going to be a disaster. Just an absolute humanitarian disaster. People don't understand. Imagine your town of 1,000 people having 5,000 illegals camped right outside of your town. With what? How am I going to help them? What are you doing to us?
There's no infrastructure for that. I mean,
None.
Honestly, if you're let's just take this into the realities of the left-wing world that we don't enjoy. If you're going to accept hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants per year into your country, the correct place for them to go are large cities, right? Because they have infrastructure there. As we've been told over and over again, they're the only people who like those that look different than them. So why wouldn't they all go to San Francisco and Washington, D.C. and New York City, the place that they claim will care for them? Why are you sending them to conservative, outposts in the middle of nowhere with no infrastructure? This is happening over and over again.
And not even warning. Not even warning the states or the city. Just showing up. How is that good for these people? How is it good? If you really care about them, you're just going to dump them on a street and you're not going to tell anybody. No organization is there other than probably voter registration. Nobody is there to welcome them, to answer questions, to be a bridge.
Yeah, sometimes charities step up. Sometimes some of that stuff happens sometimes. But, you put it to a community with, as you mentioned, 1,000 people. A town with 1,000 people has almost no infrastructure at all for this type of thing. It's not what you do.
By the way, I have a very, very Texan slogan for Governor Abbott's campaign.
Oh, God. Yes.
Governor Greg Abbott for re-election. All hat, no cattle.